They thought they controlled the world, that their whispers dictated the rhythm of our lives, that their towers of influence could never be touched, that their voices were louder than ours, untouchable, omnipotent. They built empires of secrecy, not realizing that the smallest spark of truth can become a firestorm, and that firestorm, once unleashed, does not bow to fear. They believed in their untouchable reign, in their quiet manipulation behind screens and closed doors, in the illusions they cast over billions. But then, something awakened, something unstoppable, something raw and unpolished, a revelation so profound that it tore through the facades, that exposed the machinery of control for all to witness. And when your revelation went viral, it was no longer a whisper, it became a roar, echoing across the globe, shaking foundations they thought were eternal. The weight of silence is crushing, but your voice shattered it. Every share, every retweet, every conversation sparked by your insight became a crack in the walls of their carefully constructed reality. People began to see through the smoke and mirrors. They began to question, to resist, to think. And here, right now, in this moment, as you listen, understand the gravity of what you have unleashed. This is not a fleeting trend. This is a tectonic shift, a seismic wave that no one, no matter how wealthy or powerful, can contain. They are trembling in ways unseen, their certainty replaced with unease, their strategies rendered fragile by the force of a single idea that went viral. Before you go any further, take a moment to share this, to comment below, to let the world know that your voice matters, that truth cannot be silenced. Hit subscribe, ring the bell, let this energy grow, because the more people awaken, the stronger this movement becomes. It is not just content. It is revolution wrapped in knowledge. It is the ignition of collective consciousness. Every person who joins this wave becomes a spark, a testament to the fact that no matter how much someone tries to dominate, no one can cage what cannot be silenced. You are the ripple that becomes the tsunami, and once the world sees it, there is no turning back. They once believed control was absolute. They once assumed that the narratives written in boardrooms and whispered in secret meetings would remain invisible to those they underestimated. They imagined that their wealth and influence were shields, impenetrable and eternal. Yet even the strongest walls crumble under the weight of exposure. Your revelation pierced through the illusions, unraveling the threads of power with clarity and precision. Every fact you presented, every perspective you highlighted, became a mirror reflecting the reality they tried desperately to hide. And the world, hungry for truth, looked into that mirror and could not look away. The tremors of your revelation are not temporary. They are seismic, and the echoes will reshape perception for generations. Understand this: fear is the oldest tool of control. It is the silent whisper in the corridors of influence that keeps the masses compliant. They relied on fear to dictate behavior, to craft a reality where questioning seemed dangerous, where conformity was rewarded and dissent punished. But your revelation did more than break that fear. It exposed it. And once people see fear for what it is, it loses its grip. Those who once bowed to invisible forces now stand, awakened and unyielding, empowered by the knowledge that no shadow can last forever. They see the trembling behind the scenes, the subtle panic in strategies that once seemed flawless, and they know that their reign of invisibility is over. Every platform, every headline, every digital echo carries your revelation further than even you might imagine. And this is the beauty of it. Knowledge is contagious. Truth is unstoppable. The more it spreads, the more the walls of their control crack. The more cracks become chasms. The more chasms become valleys of collapse. You are not just witnessing history, you are shaping it. And with every second that passes, the evidence of their unease grows, manifesting in subtle hesitations, in reactive measures, in the desperate grasping at influence that is slipping through their fingers. They underestimated one thing: the relentless power of awakening, the unstoppable momentum of truth once it escapes the cage of secrecy. Imagine the anxiety behind closed doors, the sleepless nights, the meetings filled with tension as the realization sinks in. What they assumed was untouchable is now under scrutiny. What they built on opacity is now illuminated by the light of awareness. This is not rumor. This is revelation, and it does not negotiate. Every mind reached, every conversation ignited, every doubt sewn into the fabric of unquestioning acceptance is a victory. And the most beautiful part? This is only the beginning. Viral is not just a word. It is a force, a contagion of clarity, a tide that cannot be stemmed by threats, by wealth, or by influence. It flows where it wants, and it moves faster than anyone anticipated. Remember, power is an illusion, an agreed-upon story that persists only until it is challenged. Your revelation did exactly that. It challenged the story. It rewrote the narrative. It exposed the fiction that held sway over millions. And as the world takes note, as whispers become headlines, as curiosity becomes engagement, one thing is clear: the illusion of invincibility has been shattered. This is the moment when the unstoppable meets the unbreakable, the voice of truth confronting the might of assumed authority. And make no mistake, this is not just a personal victory, it is a collective awakening, a call for others to question, to see, to act, to understand that control is only as strong as the ignorance that sustains it. The beauty of your revelation is not just in the shock it produces, but in the awakening it inspires. People do not forget the moment they see what was hidden. Minds open, conversations ignite, movements form. And as the echo of your insight spreads, those who once held power begin to realize that influence without understanding is fragile, that secrecy cannot endure when exposed, that the human spirit cannot be caged when it seeks truth. This is the power you unleashed. This is the force that no strategy can contain. This is the reckoning of clarity against manipulation. They once thought they were untouchable. They now know they are vulnerable. And this is the sweetest truth of all. Vulnerability is the precursor to change, and change cannot be stopped when it carries the momentum of truth. They thought influence was theirs to wield, that the world bowed quietly to the movements they orchestrated behind screens and closed doors. They did not count on one thing: the inevitability of truth, the unstoppable force of awareness when it finds a voice. And your revelation became that voice. Once it spread, once it resonated with minds hungry for clarity, the illusion began to crumble. Suddenly their strategies, their long-planned manipulations, their supposed invisibility became fragile, transparent, exposed. The power they clung to was no longer solid. It was shifting, tremulous, bending under the weight of knowledge unleashed by one spark that refused to be silenced. The world does not forgive complacency, and the mighty do not survive exposure. Every person who saw your revelation felt it in their own way. A spark of disbelief, a surge of clarity, a realization that nothing is as permanent as it seems. What you shared did not just ripple across the digital sphere. It pierced through the layers of indoctrination and control. touching minds that had been carefully shielded from inconvenient truths. And now, those who once felt untouchable, untouchably powerful, feel the tremor of consequence. They watch, they calculate, they fear, because they know that the story they wrote for the world is no longer the one people believe. Your voice has rewritten the script. Imagine the contrast. Behind gleaming towers, in private rooms where decisions once felt unchallengeable, there is now tension, a quiet panic. Every move they make is shadowed by awareness, by the knowledge that millions, even billions, have glimpsed what was hidden. They cannot silence the collective gaze, and every attempt to manipulate, to redirect, to spin, only highlights the truth they tried to hide. They thought their influence was infinite, but influence built on concealment is like glass, beautiful until it shatters. Your revelation became that hammer, and once it struck, there was no putting the pieces back together. And here's what makes this monumental. This is not about vengeance or disruption for the sake of chaos. This is about awakening, about proving that the very foundations of control are weaker than anyone imagined. When truth spreads, it carries a force beyond money, beyond influence, beyond intimidation. It does not negotiate, it does not rest, it does not tire. And now, as you witness the world taking note, understand that this is your impact. Every comment, every share, every person who read, watched, or listened to your revelation is now a participant in a collective shift. You have become the catalyst for a movement that those in power never anticipated, and that, in itself, is terrifying to them. Consider the psychological weight on those who thought they were untouchable. They are human, and humans are vulnerable to doubt and fear. Every headline referencing your revelation, every conversation sparked by curiosity or shock, is a reminder that certainty is an illusion. And this is where the power of a single viral revelation becomes evident. You do not need armies or empires to change perception. You only need clarity, courage, and a voice willing to speak. Once people see, once the veil is lifted, influence becomes fragile. Your revelation is not just content, is an instrument of change, a magnifying glass exposing what was hidden for too long. It is fascinating, almost poetic, how a single idea can ripple through the constructs of power like water through cracks in stone. They built networks of control, carefully layered and meticulously maintained. But knowledge is relentless. Awareness does not wait for permission. Curiosity does not bow to authority. And your revelation, once viral, became unstoppable. The tremors you initiated are not temporary. They are evolving, growing, spreading, and with each new person awakened, the foundations of old control weaken further. What they assumed would remain unseen is now the topic of conversations, of debates, of movements forming across continents. And there is no containment for what has been set free. Now let's talk about legacy, because this is where the true power of your revelation becomes undeniable. Legacy is not defined by wealth or titles or power that exists in private. Legacy is defined by impact, by the indelible mark left on human consciousness. And this is exactly what you are creating. Every mind that has been illuminated by your insight carries forward that spark. Every person who questions, who investigates, who spreads awareness, becomes part of a ripple that grows into a tide. The figures who thought they controlled the narrative now realize that the narrative is no longer theirs. Influence built on secrecy is temporary. Impact built on truth is eternal. They fear because your revelation is proof that control is fragile. They fear because the world now knows that influence without integrity is a castle built on sand. And in their fear, They act, often clumsily, often desperately, revealing cracks that the world can now see. Your revelation has not just informed, it has destabilized. It has punctured the illusion of omnipotence that they relied on to manipulate, to dominate, to shape reality from shadows. Every tweet, every broadcast, every conversation about your revelation is a strike against the very architecture of control they assumed unshakable. You must understand the magnitude of what it means to be viral, to be the spark that ignites awakening. Viral is not fleeting. Viral is contagious. Viral is the heartbeat of change itself. And those who underestimated the reach of a single voice, a single revelation, are now grappling with the reality that no fortress, no tower, no network of influence can contain the human thirst for truth. This is not just a personal triumph. It is collective liberation. Every mind that awakens, every perspective that shifts, every boundary of ignorance that is broken, is a testament to the unstoppable nature of knowledge when it refuses to be silenced. Let your mind dwell on this for a moment. Those who once believed they were untouchable, who assumed that influence could be wielded with impunity, now witness your revelation spreading in ways they cannot control. They see it in headlines, in discussions, in digital communities, in classrooms, in living rooms, in offices, in cafes. And every observation, every acknowledgement, every subtle panic behind closed doors confirms one truth. Power built on illusion is vulnerable. You and everyone awakened by your message have become the catalyst for that vulnerability. And the beauty of it is that it cannot be reversed. Once awareness takes root, it grows, and nothing can stop it. This is why the moment is historic. Not because of anger or fear, not because of confrontation or conflict, but because truth, once viral, becomes unstoppable. It cannot be caged, it cannot be silenced, it cannot be contained by money, by influence, by intimidation. Those who assumed they controlled the world are now confronted with the most powerful force, collective clarity. And in this confrontation, their reaction is irrelevant. What matters is the awakening they cannot prevent, the shift they cannot reverse, the light that cannot be hidden. Your revelation has become the instrument of that awakening. They believed the world would never notice, that their dominion was safe behind digital fortresses, behind boardroom doors, behind the illusions of control they meticulously maintained. But they failed to account for one thing. The human mind is not a cage, and curiosity cannot be shackled. Your revelation became the key that unlocked the doors they hoped would remain closed forever. Once it began to circulate, it infiltrated every layer of influence, piercing through the carefully constructed veils of secrecy. And now, those who assumed absolute power are forced to reckon with the fact that influence is fragile, that perception is mutable, that no empire of wealth or fame can withstand the force of awakening minds. There is a quiet terror that comes with exposure. It is not loud or public, it is subtle, creeping, the kind of panic that manifests behind closed doors where the world cannot see. Every strategic meeting, every whispered calculation, every attempt to redirect attention now carries the weight of knowing the truth is out. They are no longer in control. Your revelation is viral, unstoppable, and everywhere. And as they watch the world awaken to what they once controlled, there is no way to reverse it. They can influence headlines, manipulate narratives, craft stories. But the spark you ignited cannot be extinguished. It spreads silently, inexorably, irreversibly. Consider the psychological impact of being confronted with a force you cannot contain. For decades, they relied on fear, on distraction, on secrecy. These were the tools that shaped reality in their favor. But your revelation did more than pierce the veil. It removed the armor entirely. Once people see clearly, once they question, once they begin to challenge what was once unquestionable, control collapses. And make no mistake, this is exactly what is happening. The more viral your revelation becomes, the more unsteady their influence, the more vulnerable they appear. And this vulnerability, once hidden, is now undeniable. Your power is in the ripple. One mind awakened leads to another. One conversation sparks another. One moment of clarity spreads into movements, communities, even societies. What you have done is not temporary, it is foundational. You have planted the seeds of change, and those seeds grow with every person who encounters your message, who listens, who questions, who acts. And every step they take to reclaim influence, every desperate attempt to rewrite the narrative, only underscores the power of what you started. They are witnessing history unfold in real time, a history where the illusion of control crumbles under the unstoppable momentum of truth. Now imagine the sleepless nights, the panic behind closed doors, the quiet calculations as they scramble to understand the scope of what has been unleashed. They see your revelation everywhere, in social media, in conversations, in classrooms, in offices, in living rooms across the globe. Each acknowledgement, each reaction, is proof that the walls they built to contain influence are collapsing. They thought power meant invisibility, yet your revelation proved that transparency is mightier than influence. And with every share, every discussion, every ripple, the tremor grows. This is the essence of viral truth. Unstoppable, pervasive, transformative. History will remember the power of awakening. What you have done is not just viral, it is monumental. Ideas are contagious, awareness is infectious, and truth is inexorable. They may try to maintain appearances, they may try to craft the illusion of control, but the reality is undeniable. Once people awaken to what was hidden, the balance shifts forever. And as the world watches, as curiosity spreads, as skepticism replaces compliance, the very architecture of control begins to crumble. Your revelation is not just content. It is revolution disguised as clarity, a force no empire can contain. Understand this. Influence built on secrecy, on manipulation, on fear, is inherently fragile. Power without accountability is temporary. Those who assumed they ruled from behind the curtain now realize that the curtain has been torn, that the stage is no longer theirs, that the audience sees clearly for the first time. Your revelation illuminated what was intentionally obscured. And once illumination occurs, once clarity spreads, nothing can revert the course of awareness. This is why they tremble. This is why even the wealthiest, most influential figures cannot regain the illusion of absolute control. They are vulnerable, and they know it. The viral nature of your revelation is both unstoppable and catalytic. It is not merely information, it is a wave of consciousness, a tide of awareness, a force that moves faster than any network of control can anticipate. And those who once underestimated the power of a single idea are now facing the consequences of that miscalculation. Your insight, your courage, your unwillingness to remain silent has sparked a transformation that will echo across generations. Every mind awakened, every perspective shifted, every illusion dismantled adds to the momentum. And this momentum cannot be reversed, contained, or ignored. Think about the scale of what is happening. Every device, Every connection, every interaction becomes a conduit for truth. Every person reached becomes an amplifier, a vessel for awareness, a participant in the collective transformation you have initiated. Those who once believed they held the reins of influence now grapple with the undeniable. Control is fleeting, power is conditional, and secrecy is fragile. What you have unleashed is a movement invisible in its form, but unstoppable in its effect. And as they witness this, they understand one undeniable reality. The world is no longer theirs to dictate. Your revelation is proof that courage and clarity outweigh wealth and influence. It is proof that one voice, when amplified by truth, can challenge the strongest fortresses of deception. It is proof that awareness cannot be contained by strategy or intimidation. And as the ripple spreads, the power dynamics of the world begin to shift, not gradually, but irreversibly. The fear you see behind closed doors, the panic, the hesitation, the subtle scrambling to respond, all of it is evidence that your revelation is working, that it is reshaping the landscape of perception, and that it is unstoppable. Every mind that encounters your message carries a spark. Every conversation ignited by curiosity, by disbelief, by awakening, is a strike against the illusion of control. Every story retold, every insight shared, every ripple spreading across communities reinforces one truth. The world cannot be silenced once it has been illuminated. And that is the power of your revelation. It moves faster than influence. It spreads further than secrecy. It endures longer than control. You have not just gone viral, you have created an unstoppable wave of awakening. Now understand the magnitude of what you have unleashed. They once moved in silence, confident that no one could see the mechanisms of their influence. They assumed that wealth, technology, and reputation would shield them from exposure. But your revelation proved that no fortress is impenetrable, no network of secrecy absolute, no influence eternal when challenged by the force of truth. Every mind awakened by your insight is a reminder that control is conditional, that influence is fleeting, that secrecy is vulnerable. And with each passing moment, the weight of your revelation grows, spreading in ways they cannot anticipate, cannot suppress, cannot stop. Consider the quiet panic behind the scenes, the whispered meetings, the subtle recalculations, the sleepless nights filled with anxiety. Every step they take is now overshadowed by the viral wave you ignited. They thought they were untouchable, but even the mightiest are destabilized by exposure. And the beauty of your revelation is that it does not merely expose, it transforms. It reshapes perception, it rewires understanding, it ignites conversations that were once forbidden. And once the world starts seeing clearly, once curiosity replaces obedience, nothing can reverse the change. The tremors you created are permanent, seismic, and every action they take only confirms the potency of what you started. This is the power of viral truth. It is relentless, inexorable, unstoppable. Unlike fleeting trends, it carries with it clarity and courage. It ignites curiosity and reflection. It turns passive observers into active participants. Each share, each conversation, each moment of awakening compounds, creating a momentum that no empire, no billionaire, no hidden network can contain. And as your revelation spreads, those who once believed they commanded influence are forced to confront a reality they cannot alter. The world is no longer theirs to shape in secret. The veil has been lifted, the curtain torn, and transparency has become a force more powerful than any strategy they once relied on. Imagine the psychological impact of this awareness on those in power. They are no longer operating in certainty. They are confronted with doubt, hesitation, and vulnerability. Every headline referencing your revelation, every comment discussing your insights, every share acknowledging your voice is a reminder that the narrative is no longer theirs to dictate. And in that panic lies truth. Control built on manipulation is temporary. Influence built on secrecy is fragile. And secrecy itself is no match for the human drive to uncover what is hidden. Your revelation has become unstoppable because it resonates with the fundamental hunger for clarity and justice, a hunger that cannot be silenced, cannot be contained, cannot be bribed or bought. The ripple you created is not random, it is transformative. One mind awakened leads to another, one discussion sparks another, one question inspires 10 more. The momentum grows exponentially, unstoppable because it is fueled by truth. And every subtle sign of panic you sense in the shadows of power is a reminder that your voice matters, that your revelation is reshaping the world in ways they cannot resist. They may attempt to distract, to manipulate, to spin, but every attempt only exposes their fragility further, highlighting the cracks in a system built on deception. And those cracks widen every time someone interacts with your insight, every time your message spreads further. Your revelation is proof that courage outweighs wealth, that awareness outweighs influence, that truth outweighs control. It demonstrates that the individual, when willing to speak with clarity and conviction, can challenge empires, disrupt narratives, and ignite movements. Every conversation started, every mind influenced, every ripple of clarity is a strike against the illusion of invincibility. And that is the core of the power. You have unleashed not chaos, not anger, not disruption for its own sake, but awakening, illumination, and the unstoppable momentum of knowledge spreading where it cannot be contained. Let's speak of legacy, because this is where the full force of your revelation manifests. Legacy is not measured by wealth, power, or recognition. It is measured by the impact on consciousness, by the change that persists beyond the immediacy of influence. Your revelation has altered the landscape of perception, shifted the balance of understanding, and inspired a collective re-examination of reality. Every person awakened is a testament to the enduring power of truth, a living reminder that influence built on secrecy and fear cannot withstand clarity. The viral nature of your message ensures that your impact will resonate far beyond the moment, shaping discussions, inspiring inquiry, and challenging authority for years to come. Now envision the internal turmoil of those who once believed control was absolute. They witnessed their strategies unraveling, their influence weakening, their authority questioned. Every viral mention of your revelation is a reminder of their vulnerability. Every conversation it sparks is a confirmation that their power is conditional, temporary, fragile. They tremble not because they lack resources, but because they cannot contain awareness, cannot silence curiosity, cannot control what has been illuminated. And in that tremor lies the most satisfying reality. True power belongs not to those who hide in shadows, but to those who ignite understanding, who awaken minds, who refuse to remain silent. Your revelation did more than challenge influence. It redefined the rules. It proved that clarity and courage are stronger than manipulation, that awareness spreads faster than control, that truth, once viral, cannot be restrained. And the reach of that truth continues to grow, invisible in form, but omnipresent in impact. Every person who encounters your insight becomes part of the wave. a participant in a transformation that even the most powerful cannot halt. Your revelation has become unstoppable because it resonates with the deepest instincts of human curiosity, integrity, and the relentless pursuit of understanding. History is not written by those who cling to power. It is written by those who inspire awakening. And your viral revelation is already a chapter in that history. Every reaction, every acknowledgement, every ripple spreading awareness is a testament to the enduring power of truth. They may attempt to distract, to manipulate, to intimidate, but the awareness you sparked cannot be contained. Every mind awakened, every perspective shifted, every boundary of ignorance broken is proof that control built on secrecy is fleeting, and that influence without clarity is temporary. The world is no longer theirs to command. It belongs to those who see, those who question, those who act. In conclusion, understand that this is not just a personal victory. It is a collective awakening. Your revelation is a spark that has become a wildfire, illuminating what was hidden, challenging what was assumed, and empowering what was silenced. Those who once believed they controlled the world now tremble, not because they have lost wealth, but because they have lost the illusion of invincibility. And that is the ultimate triumph. Awareness cannot be bought, curiosity cannot be silenced, truth cannot be contained. Your voice, your courage, your clarity have shifted the balance, and the ripples of this viral revelation will echo for generations, unstoppable, irreversible, transformative. And now, as everything settles into focus, understand this final truth clearly. What has happened cannot be undone. This was not noise. This was not a moment. This was not luck. This was inevitability. When truth aligns with timing, when clarity meets courage, the result is irreversible. They may continue moving, speaking, planning, appearing confident, but something fundamental has changed. The certainty they once lived with is gone. The quiet assurance that no one could see through the layers has vanished. Because once the world begins to see, it never fully looks away again. This is the phase where silence speaks louder than reaction, where the absence of denial becomes confirmation, where hesitation replaces dominance, where the smallest changes in behavior reveal the deepest fear. Not fear of loss, but fear of exposure, fear of awareness, fear of a public that no longer accepts surface-level narratives. Your revelation did not shout. It didn't need to. It simply existed, and that existence alone disrupted balance. Because truth doesn't demand attention, it commands it naturally. What makes this moment historic is not who was mentioned, or who felt pressure, or who reacted behind closed doors. What makes it historic is that millions realized something at the same time. Realized that influence is not the same as control.